Guys, it's Ashley. Today I'm gonna be frank about my work, and that means the topic of cancer is gonna come up. If that sort of stuff isn't for you, I would suggest clicking away. I'm not going to be talking about the whole recovery and treatment aspect in this video, but just more about leukemia in general and how it's impacted my work. If this sort of topic isn't for you, totally understand. I'll see you in the next video. Today I'm going to be redrawing Fly By Night's first ever cover. This cover was one of the first things I drew with my iPad, and I drew it in the hospital even. It was one of the first illustrations I did for FBN when I finally said, yes, I'm drawing this webcomic. This cover, this new one, is going to be on all the places, Tapas, Webtoon, and the main site. I decided to redraw it a couple days before we launched, and overall the total amount of time I spent on this illustration was about 2 to 3 hours. If you didn't know, January 21st is the anniversary of my stem cell / bone marrow transplant, which is, again, one of the reasons why we decided to launch Fly By Night on this specific day. Just for my sake and for yours, just so I say it, stem cell transplant and bone marrow transplant are two different procedures, but they are sort of used interchangeably to refer to a donor giving their stem cells to a patient. The stem cells latch on and restart your immune / blood system. My father was my donor, so the amount of time from diagnosis to actual transplant was about 4 or 5 months. I was really lucky. They didn't need to go looking for a donor. I have a good relationship with my parents, and they're both still alive. Sometimes this illness happens to people in less fortunate situations than mine. That's like a super simplified description of the transplant but for right now, that's really all you need to know for the context of that, I think. So probably in the future, I want to make a real, actual story time about leukemia, what it's like, and some hot tips from me to you about it. Leukemia is rare, and it's really scary to go through. I feel like there isn't in general very frank information on what it's like to go through chemo or cancer that you can find online. I don't know, if that's something you're interested in, let me know, or if you have any questions, maybe you have a loved one you want to help support, maybe you're going through the same thing. I'm always here. I'm always open to questions about what it was like. But one of the factors that really made me start work on my comic, probably the big reason I think you're able to read Fly By Night, is that I got sick. I spent a lot of time, I still spend a lot of time trying to rationalize what happened to me. Essentially what leukemia is that your blood doesn't form right. Your bone juice expires before you do. Getting sick like that just happens. Cancer just happens. We could get into an argument about how, smoking and drinking increases your chance for cancer, but then some people smoke like a chimney and live until they're 90. Early on, a doctor explained to me that it didn't really matter how I lived before this. Something in my DNA switched on, and suddenly my blood wasn't forming right. My exact diagnosis is acute lymphocytic. It's either lymphocytic or lymphoblastic leukemia. I want to say it's lymphoblastic. It has been a while since I looked at any of the documentation from that time. And from what my doctor told me, it's really common in kids and has one of the highest rates of prognosis. I think I'm saying that right. Essentially, it's a very survivable cancer. It has a very high success rate in treatment. Keep in mind, I'm not cured. Cancer and things like that, curing cancer is sort of this analogous statement. Yes, my transplant was successful, but how long until something happens? What if it comes back? What if I don't live to be 90 because of that? Because it comes back, or because of the radiation treatment I received? I think I still have feelings that I have to work through about what happened. It's still pretty fresh, I had my transplant, and then the plague happened. I haven't really been cancer-free for even a year yet at the time of recording this video. I've essentially lost 2 years of my life, my career, to this, and I'm struggling with the feeling of being left behind, I guess. I've talked about I regard myself as a middle of the pack as an artist. I'm not amazing, but I'm not bad either. My art's pretty forgettable, and I'm really shy as a person. I don't like attention all that much, especially negative attention. Overall, I feel like I'm falling behind my peers, and I think that's a relatable struggle. What's wrong with me? Why haven't I done more with my career yet, especially given that in March of this year I'm going to turn 27, and I feel so old. But then I take a step back and realize, hey, I drew this comic despite cancer, despite everything that's happened to me. I have people that love and support me, so I try to push those thoughts from my mind. So anyway, nearly dying kind of gives you a clarity over your whole life. Things that happen to me now, minor inconveniences, they don't destroy me like they used to. I'm still working on myself, and I still struggle with those thoughts. But, man, cancer is wild. When I was first diagnosed, I was in the hospital from mid-September to mid-October of 2019. And I remember being home in time for Halloween. And then I got my iPad in November and started drawing during my other 2 long stays in the hospital. You don't get any rest in hospitals, by the way. A nurse comes to check on you all the time. You can't leave the floor. You're hooked to machines and chemo, and there's nothing else to do but watch TV and walk. They wanted us to walk a lot. When I got my iPad, I could watch Netflix and draw, and it boosted my morale. Don't get me wrong, I still had my bad days, where I would just sleep, or I was just in a bad mood about being in the hospital for such a long period of time. But overall, working on Fly By Night and being able to draw in the hospital gave me something to do. That was something different than just eat, sleep, take medicine, and walk, and watch TV. I watched so much Friends in the hospital. I still don't get it. I still don't get Friends. Sorry, guys. So I don't exactly remember what motivated me to start actually drawing the comic. I don't think I got my iPad with the express purpose of starting the comic, and the reason I sort of talk in like this, I don't remember, is because I kind of don't. Everything about that time is really blurry and really hazy at times. Sometimes I remember very clear things that happened to me, but then the days sort of blurred together, and it's hard to exactly remember when things happened. I have to have family and friends sort of remind me of how things went when I can't remember things. At first, the iPad was just a way to draw and create and just feel like me again. Frankie, my partner, and the writer of Fly By Night had the prologue and the first 10 pages written out for, I cannot stress this enough, literal years. I always struggled with not feeling good enough to start the comic. But here's the thing. You are always good enough to start. No matter the skill level you have, you will always be good enough to start your project. You just have to start, and let this, if you get nothing else from this video, let me be the one to tell you, from someone who's nearly died, you don't want to live your life with any regrets. So even if you start the project and it fails, at least you tried. And sometimes just that trying is enough. Emil and Aldridge are really important to me as characters. When Frankie and I started dating, Frankie wanted to DM something for me. And I don't know if this was to impress me or show off. I don't know. But overall, it was just a really fun D&D game, and we played it for a couple years. Some things about me that I love. I love true crime. I love mysteries. I love monsters. After the campaign fell apart, I kept drawing Aldridge and Emil because they make me and Frankie happy. Emil is a comfort character almost. Their shapes are so easy for me to draw. I love drawing them. Anyway, now for the art. For reference, here is what the original cover looked like. As far as how to approach drawing a new cover, I wanted to keep the general themes of the first volume and the old cover. The first volume of FBN is really meant to focus on Aldridge and Emil's relationship to each other, while Emil is learning from Aldridge. Aldridge is a main character, after all, but he feels very distant compared to Emil. You catch a glimpse of his struggle in the prologue, so the audience is familiar with him, and he's sort of the emotional through line of the prologue to the first chapter. What happened to him after the events of the prologue? Why does he look so gruff and unapproachable compared to the wide-eyed design he had at the start? All of these questions and more if you read FBN. Another element I wanted to include was this nice moon asset I made, and which I will reuse forever until the end of time. In Fly By Night, the moon sort of acts as a sun replacement. People move about during their quote-unquote day with the moon, since it's the only natural source of light people have to work with. But the nights are pitch black. The setting of FBN is a place where magic and science exist together, and I've got some really cool design aspects about the setting that I hope people will enjoy. Overall, I wanted something with a strong composition focused on the general elements of the first volume. Frankie discussed putting the main city where the story starts in the background, and while I think that would have been cool, I didn't want to make this cover look too busy. Again, I tend to ink and clip, and just because the lines look smoother to me, I'll probably start slowly migrating to clip more and more as I get used to the interface. I struggled a lot back and forth with this picture. It was really more of a off-the-cuff, hey, what if I redraw the cover to the first volume. Ultimately, I'm really happy with the choices I've made. Originally, I wasn't going to have Emil look at the audience. Me and my friends joke, as a concept, as a character, is very sheep-shaped. So very friendly looking. I have a real weakness for sheep-shaped characters, and I think Emil sort of fits that. Generally, they are a warmer character than Aldridge. Aldridge, who is this mysterious and gruff and enigmatic person. I struggled back and forth with the elements of this piece, but ultimately I went with something that was easy. I think that something easy can be just as effective. So yeah, it's sort of impossible to detangle my experience with leukemia from Fly By Night. This piece is important to me, the original cover, for a lot of reasons. Because of cancer, because of everything that happened. So I hope that if you've made it this far into this video, you'll take a look at FBN and enjoy it. If anyone has any questions about my process, about how I work, about cancer, I'll be happy to answer them. I'm always here. I'm hoping to upload more videos as I continue to work on Fly By Night. This is just sort of an off-the-cuff, something I'd been thinking about, especially while I was recording myself drawing this cover. Sort of this YouTube channel is mostly me just talking about my work and sort of working through my feelings about cancer, and I hope that you guys enjoy, if nothing else, the speed paints. I know I'm a pretty deadpan voice, I've noticed as I've been recording these videos. But anyway, if you are watching this, and I don't think this is gonna go up the day of Fly By Night's release, it's gonna be up a couple of days beforehand. And then I have another little announcement video I'm planning for the 21st, just to be like, hey, the comic's out, but if you are watching this after the 21st of January 2021, then Fly By Night is out, and you can read it. To launch, we have the first 12 pages of prologue and first 4 pages out, which is wild. That's so much. But I really hope that you enjoy what we have to show you, and I am hoping that these videos and the process of me recording will give me a better will help me learn how to talk a bit more. One of the things about the chemos that I got, some of the immunotherapies I got, is that I don't want to use the word slow, but I'm definitely just not as light on my feet when it comes to my brain. I say a lot. I have to edit that out a bunch, but it's, some of that is still there. I pause too when I talk a bunch. I forget things as I'm talking about them, and I'm hoping that this YouTube channel and that talking about my work will sort of help bring back that sharpness of mind that I really lost to cancer. We joke a bunch that any brain cells I had before cancer got lost in the shuffle. So I know I'm not dumb, but I'm definitely a much different person after what happened to me. And I'm starting to realize that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Being a different person than I was 2 years ago and going through this almost metamorphosis of as a person is not a bad thing. And I want to share my struggle with people and try to reach out to people who might also be struggling with the same sort of things, you know. It will get better. But anyway, all of the social links to my Patreon, the comic sites for Tapas, Webtoon, and flybynightcomic.com will be in the description. You can check them out, bookmark, subscribe, whatever you want before the 21st, but they will go live essentially on the 21st. So when I was in the hospital, they referred to the transplant, the day of your transplant, as essentially like a birthday, because when you are given these stem cells, it's almost like your immune system is reset to 0. It's like you're a baby again. So they always joke that it was that this procedure gives you a new birthday, essentially. So that's interesting to think about, that in a couple days it's my transplant birthday. Despite everything, I'm still here. But the other side of the coin is that I'm still here, and I will never let anyone forget that I went through cancer. I'm gonna be pulling this shit in 20 years, being like, hey guys, did you know I survived cancer? I survived cancer, and I have a pencil, and I'm gonna make that everybody's problem. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys this week. Start your story, for one, if you have been having a story, a project on the back burner because you feel like you aren't good enough to start yet. This is me telling you now, you're good enough to start. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.